So I wanted to do a little bit of an exercise where I compare the team that took the field against St. Kilda on Friday night to a potential Essendon team that didn't play, and that was the team sitting on the sidelines. And I wanted to do that in response to the club's depth next year and what it might mean. I'm going to have a bit of a look at that right now.
We've always had the passion and the iron will. No one doubts the courage of the boys from Windy Hill.
If you do like this content that I provide, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. I've got about 25 subscribers to go to get to 2,000, so it'd be great to get there with this video. I'd really appreciate it if you haven't subscribed, if you could do that right now. So one of the silver linings with a lot of the injuries that we've had this year and the fact that we've debuted 15 players is that it's going to give us, hopefully anyway, an insane amount of depth for next year. Now, depth is not the same thing as quality. I'm not saying that they are, but it is a good thing to have, especially with the mid-season draftees who, if they're good enough, get to fight for a spot on the list with the players who they actually replaced, giving us kind of like 4 bonus players of depth. And it's become apparent when you look at the way our team has been lining up over the last few weeks compared to who's not there on the field. We actually have effectively 2 Essendons, which is kind of funny, but it's true. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. We actually have effectively 2 Essendons. We have the Essendon that's lining up on the field, and we have the Essendon that is not there. So this is the team that took the field against St. Kilda on the weekend. You all know the team. You can see it there. Some of them are first-choice players, a lot of rookies and people who have made their debut this year, and a few that might be on the chopping block. All sorts of changes will be made from the team that you see here compared to how it will line up next year. But what I wanted to have a look at was the Essendon team that is not on the field and whether they could beat the Essendon team that took the field, because I doubt ever in the history of the game that a team who had players sitting on the sidelines could defeat the team who actually took the field. But here is the team. I wanted to do this exercise and open it up to you guys in the comments and let me know what you think. Do you think this team that I'm about to announce would beat the Essendon team that took the field? So from the back line, we've got Ridley, Mackay, and Zach Johnson. The half back line, we've got Cox, Reed, and Hayes. Centre line, or on the wing, we've got Jones, Merritt in the middle, and Shield. Half forward line, we've got Martin, May, and Setterfield. Full forward line, we've got Smart in the pocket, Caddy at full forward, and Draper. The ruck division, we've got Brian, Parrish at ruck rover, and Caldwell rover. And the interchange bench, I've got Sartis, Davey, Edwards, Gerine, and Day Wicks as the sub. That's 46 players, 23 for both teams. There's one player that didn't make it. It's not because he doesn't necessarily deserve to, but Vigo is the one who's the player that didn't make either team. Not because he can't, but because I didn't want to put 3 rucks in the team. I've already got Brian and Draper in the unavailable team. I didn't want a third one in there. But you look at that team, and I think that team would probably beat the Essendon team that took the field on the weekend, and therefore would probably beat the Saints. So what I find interesting is this is going to give us an insane amount of depth next year, hopefully anyway, because we're effectively picking one team out of those 2 teams. It's kind of, we're picking the best of Team A and the best of Team B. Now, I know it's not always going to be that simple. There are some of those players are not going to be there. There's going to be delistings, and Draper might not be there, and all sorts of things. But we've effectively got 2 full squads to choose from who have all played senior football, and we're picking the best team out of that. So I'm kind of excited about that. It hasn't really become apparent until recently that you could sort of look at the team that's not playing and they could actually beat the team that played there on Friday night. At least I think they probably could anyway. If you just look at that team as it stands now, I mean, that's a team that would be competitive, I think, against a lot of teams in the competition. And it does make me wonder what we could possibly achieve next year. Now, this club has burnt me for 20 years. I am not in the business of going over the top with predictions or anything like that. But one thing is for sure, it's going to be hard to get a spot on the list, and it's going to be difficult to get into the team if we do have a full suite of players available without injuries. Now, that's not the same thing as quality. I know the two things aren't always the same, but it's going to cause a lot of selection pressure, I reckon, next year if we can get the team on the park. So to the fitness staff, it's up to you. The ball is in your court. If you can do your job, then we might be, in a position where we can be a little bit better next year than what people think. And we've actually got pretty reasonable depth in all the positions as well. I mean, obviously there's pretty good depth in the back line with, Ridley, Mackay, Reed, Hayes, all to come back into the side. You've got, midfielders, Merritt. I'm leaving Shield out because he won't be there next year, but you've got Merritt, Setterfield, Martin, Caldwell, Parrish, Sartis, perhaps if he's still there, all to come into the team. That's, half a dozen, reasonable midfielders. And there's also good depth in the forward line. One thing we do have, and I've said it quite a bit on this channel, we do have, about 8 players that can play full forward. And that might be one less with Draper going out. Draper was spending quite a bit of time forward, of course, earlier this season before his injury, and we don't know what his status will be next year. The key, I think, will be, as it has always been with Essendon, is the development. Can we develop some of our players? It is one of the great frustrations that over the last 2 decades, we've only really drafted and developed one A-grade player. That's Merritt. Joe Watson was an A-grade player, of course, but he was a father-son, and he was always coming to Essendon. But in terms of players that we've just identified in the draft, who are not father-sons, and just players that have, we have actually developed, we've only really developed one champion, right? In all that time, that's Merritt, which is really frustrating. I mean, can anyone make that step up? Can Martin make that step from being a really, really good player, I guess you'd call him an A- player, into a player that is as good as Merritt, for example? Same with Caldwell, players like that. Caddy, it just is, very, very frustrating as an Essendon supporter that we've only just had that one player in 2 decades that we've identified and drafted who is of, I guess you would call Brownlow medal quality, right? It doesn't mean they're a Brownlow medalist, but, that type of quality in terms of the output that they produce. So really, it's over to the club now. We've got a lot of depth. Can we produce through our development program a few more players who are A-graders capable of hitting the level that Zach Merritt has produced? So I just thought this would be a bit of a fun exercise, looking at the team on paper, the team that's not there and the team that's there, and having a look at them and basically, coming to the conclusion that we're essentially picking a best of Essendon A and best of Essendon B side next year if we can get our team on the park. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm going to leave it there. Have a great day. And as always, go Bombers.